Hello, my little nightmares, and it is me, Queen Nightmare. At the moment, it is 56 minutes until my new video comes out, so I'm going to make another one so that you guys have more videos at the same time as that I don't have to do much work. Because if I do I just literally read the first sentence and wow, okay, this is gonna be a while. Okay, I'm back. I got really hot, so you might hear my fan in the background. I'm sorry about that, because I'm sweating like a pig. Chapter 27, Harry's POV. Do you remember when I walked in on them having sex last year? I heard a whisper say. I groaned and buried my face deeper into Draco. Yeah, I do, the other voice said. Go away, I heard Draco mutter. But Dad, it's Christmas, Dad yelled, so Draco shifted and turned on his slide. Yes, I realize that, he chuckled. Give us some time, we'll be down in a few minutes. All right, fine, Scorpia said, and I opened my eyes and watched them leave. I looked at Draco, who smiled at me. Merry Christmas, he kissed my head. Merry Christmas, love. I smiled back at him. I sat up and stretched before we both got up and got dressed. Are you sure you're ready for today? I asked. No, he frowned. I'm nervous. Don't be, you're a great father. I kissed his lips gently. Thank you, he smiled. It's just Scorpius doesn't really know my parents. Sure, mother was at the wedding, but she doesn't... He called his own son she. He doesn't really know... He doesn't really know him. Well, he'll get to know him now, I assured. They want to be a part of your life, so it'll work out. I bet my money on him bringing his ex to see Scorpius when she brutally hit him and stuff like that. I sure hope so. Scorpius is aware that they're coming over. I told him to be himself. Good. I pecked his lips and he left our room to go downstairs. There you two are, Ted yelled. Can we open our gifts now? He asked. Yeah, go ahead, Draco answered. We sat on the couch as the boys opened their gifts. We got them open, each a new broomstick. Please be how Draco got his new broomsticks for the whole crew. It was the best broomsticks ever, which they kept losing, but I mean, who doesn't against Gryffindor? Yeah, we Slytherins sometimes. We are good at academics sometimes. We're cunning to get out of situations, but we can't win the dang house cup. I wonder why. Some things from Triple W's and other things. They said thank you and gave us our gifts. Ted gave us parenting books to be amusing. Sorry. And Scorpius bought us stuff for the babies, like blankets and bibs. Oh, he's such a good kid. And I'm going to tell you a little secret now, because if anyone knows, this is a little secret. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for October. The theme is going to be, how do you say their ship name? I'm going to find it first. Anyways. Thank you, guys. We smiled and they nodded their heads in welcome. Draco turned to me and smiled. Would you like your present? He asked. Draco, I told you. You didn't need to give me anything, I huffed. He smiled and kissed my cheek. Yeah. You got me a gift, yeah? Yeah. Then of course I'd get you one, he said. He walked past the boys and retrieved a box. It was small and rectangular. Here you go, my love. He handed it to me, so I opened it and smiled. It was a necklace, a little dragon wrapped around a green tooth-looking thing. I smiled and blushed a little. It's kind of cheesy, but I figured since it's I'm your dragon. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, he's still talking. Okay. It's kind of cheesy, but I figured since I'm your dragon, I figured you should wear my sign. He blushed. I think it's great actually. I kissed him gently. You're really going to like my gift then. I pulled out the box from my pocket and he opened it, eyeing it cautiously. He finished opening it and smiled. It was simply a simple black raven necklace. I figured since you're my raven, I'm your raven, you could wear it. That's adorable, he said, putting it on. Great minds think alike. I guess, he smiled, and I smiled and planted a kiss on his lips. He stood up, and we decided to get to the house ready for the day. Hold on a second. Oh, shish kebab. It's Scorpius. If you know that ship, that's gonna be the theme for Halloween. It's gonna be Scorpius. I did Drarry last time. I'm gonna do Scorpius this time for Halloween, and I might finish this before Halloween, and I might finish the I slur. Wow. Finish the Jeff X Slenderman and other things people have told me. And I still haven't heard from anyone who wanted me to do Miraculous Ladybug. I'm going to pick probably the worst ship, so you better help me. Okay, guys. Anyways, we stood up and decided to get the house ready for the day. However, as we were, Scorpius was having a meltdown about our visitors. What if he doesn't? He's mean to me, Scorpius whined. I've never met the man. I'm sorry. That was cheesy, but you gotta admit, most of us is cheesy. Scorpius, you'll be yourself, and if he is mean to you, then you will ask him to not be, Scorpius said. As for Mother, she'll be very sweet towards you, and you must treat her with respect, he demanded, so he took a calming breath before nodding. Yes, Dad, he answered. He helped clean up the dishes from breakfast and then got dressed. He and Draco matched a little in fancy attire. Ted and I wore regular nice clothing for our day. Draco was finishing getting ready when he spotted me. Are you wearing that? He asked. Yeah, why? I asked, furrowing my brow. You look lovely. He smiled and planted a kiss on my nose. We walked downstairs and there was a knock on the door. They're here. I'm sorry, I had to do a paranormal reference. I am so sorry. I had to do it. I love my horror movies. Draco's POV. They're here, Harry said. He gripped my hand and walked to the door. We opened it, and my parents stood in front of us. My mother was smiling ear to ear. My father's expression was unreadable, like usual. Draco, Harry, my mother smiled. It's so nice to see you. It's nice to see you again, Harry smiled. She gave us a hug and walked in. Father, I nodded toward him. A small A small smile plastered on his face. Nice to see you, Draco. He walked in and looked around. Scorpius, Lucius, and Narcissa are here. I still butchered that name. I'm sorry, Harry called. Where is Ted, Harry? Mother asked. What? At Dora's. Who's Dora? Who is Dora? Hold up. Now I'm so confused. I'm sorry. I don't remember many names. So, who is Dora? Okay, anyways. Where's Ted and Harry? Mother asked. At Dora's, he informed me, and he informed her. He'll be back later. He explained. Oh, Dora's the grandmother. Oh. You know what? I'm sorry. I even forgot my mother's name once. And it was for a little bit, but still, I forget things easily. He explained, and she smiled. Scorpius walked down, and his eyes widened when they stopped at my father. I took a deep breath and smiled. Father, this is Scorpius, I introduced. Scorpius walked over to us, and I put my hand gently on his back. It's nice to meet you, sir. Scorpius shook his hand. No. Shook his head. No. But Scorpius shook his head. Hand. Oh my gosh. My father smiled widely, and my eyes grew wide. You can call me Grandpop. What? What type of drugs did Narcissa put him on right before this? Like, did they have, like, sex or something? That's why he's such in a good mood. This is... Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry, but what? He told him, and I looked over to Harry, who seemed to be enjoying the moment. Me too. Okay, Scorpius said slowly. How about we go to the kitchen? We've made something for lunch, I suggested. Everyone nodded, and we walked into the kitchen. Harry had set the table and took the ham out for lunch. We all took a seat, Scorpius uncomfortably and sat in between my parents. I sat down, and Harry came over next to me and sat down. We served everyone. So, Draco, Harry told me you were having children. You two were having children, my father said. Yes, dear. How is young Megan? Mother questioned. Last I heard, you two were having triplets. Yes, we are, Narcissa. 2 boys and a little girl. Harry smiled. That's great. What are their names? I'm sure you have thought of some. We've been discussing, and Harry likes Draco James, and I like Albus Severus, I told her. But if anything else comes up, we'll let you know. Those are nice. And the little girl? Narcissa. Well, Lily Narcisse is still kind of cute, but Narcissa is still cute too. Harry replied. My mother's face went blank before she smiled. Tears welled up in her eyes. You name your daughter after me? She asked. Certainly, ma'am, Harry answered. She jumped up and smiled before wrapping us both in hugs. When she sat back down, we looked at my father. I'm very proud of you, he told us. I gripped Harry's hand under the table so hard he yelped. Thank you, Father, I said, so he smiled and nodded. He turned to Scorpius and let out a deep breath. So, son, what house are you in? I'm in Gryffindor, he said, and I winced. But my father nodded. Very good house. Your stepfather thrived in that house, he told him. It's almost as good as Slytherin. So I've been told, Scorpius laughed. Are you in Quidditch? I was on the team as a keeper, but I had to withdraw because I missed too much. Oh well, maybe next year you can be reinstated. Hopefully, Scorpius smiled. We talked for a few more hours, and hopefully, Scorpius smiled. We talked for a few more hours. My parents got to know my son, and Scorpius got to know them. Eventually, Ted came home and greeted us. Hello, Mr. Malfoy. I'm Harry's son, Ted. Ted shook my father's hand. Hello, Ted. It's nice to meet you. You too, sir. Dads, can we be out? Can we out? What? Can we out flying? Can we go out flying? There we go. Yes, but be careful and stay low, I warned. No rough housing. No promises. They laughed as they ran outside. It was just me, my husband, and my parents. Oof. That should be a talk show. Me, my husband, and my parents. That'd just be a perfect show. We moved to the living room and sat around. Harry and my mother talked as I caught up with my father. Son, I would like to apologize for my absence, he said. I should have never disowned you. You are a great father, 100 times better than me. Scorpius has a good life. No fucking shit, sorry. I had to say it. You knew it was going to come out if he ever said that. You knew. I can't. Put me in front of Karen. You know I'm going to have words. Anyways. Thank you, Father. I nodded my head. You don't need to fear me, son, he enlightened me. I want to be a father figure. Losing my powers made me realize that there are more important things than magic. I was never there for you, but I would like to start fresh. I would like you to be treated like your son. Thank you. I nodded and he smiled before gently hugging me. I froze. It was like when Voldemort hugged me, but I eventually hugged him back gently. I never got to congratulate you marrying Potter, he told me. Your mother has told me you've liked him since you were in school. Yes, I did. Malfoys always get what they want. He smirked and I nodded in agreement. So do Potters, Harry smiled. He was with my mother and they were smiling. So boys, can we see the nursery? She asked. So we nodded and stood up. We walked upstairs and showed them. They both smiled when they saw the room. Lucius, our gift would fit perfectly in here. You don't need to get us anything, Harry defended. We didn't really get you anything, he blushed. Well, technically, it's for the babies, not you, but you'll love it. She smiled. She stepped in and took something out of her pocket. She made the object larger. It was a bookshelf filled with baby books. Thank you, we smiled. Draco, these are all the books you had when you were a baby. Really? I said. I looked at the books and the story of Harry Potter was on it. Baby Raven, here's your book, I exclaimed. He walked over to me confused and looked at it. It's a children's book, sweetheart, I smiled. About me? Yeah, there weren't many copies, but it's about your journey. That's so cool, he smiled. And so did I. I planted a kiss on his lips, then we turned to my parents. Thank you. Harry and I were cuddling in bed after my parents left. The boys were in bed, and I was telling Harry all about what my father said. He apologized, Harry, I smiled. He's never done that to me before. I'm so happy for you, Dragon. He laughed and yawned. I love you so much, I love you so much, Draco. I'm so sorry. I'm so happy. I don't know where that came from. I'm so happy you patched things up with your father. I owe it all to you, Harry. I love you. I kissed his neck softly. Thank you. Any time, my love, he yawned. He yawned again and cuddled into my side. Good night, Dragon. Good night, Raven. Author's note. I hope you all enjoyed this. Draco and his dad are on good terms, and Ginny wasn't mentioned once. Me. Oh, my gosh. Like, if my boy is having problems with an ex like that, I would still be by his side, and I would help him fight her. Because I don't care. Everyone has baggage. Everyone has baggage. Everyone has a past. And they might not be as nuts as Ginny is. They might be even more nuts than Ginny. But one thing you need to know is that Ginny, if you love someone, no matter what, you can kick someone's ass. And if Ginny has a problem with it, comes up to you and throws the first punch, then you can call the police and get her arrested. So, I mean, hey. The next chapter will be a time skip set around March and April. Thank you all for reading and commenting. It means so much, and love you lots. XOXO. This is also show appreciation to the author. I always link from, I don't know from when, but I always link my, the Wattpad down below to give appreciation to the author. If I haven't in my older ones and you want to appreciate the author or read along with it, please let me know. I will link it to you no matter what. Or if it's something like a short, something that someone emailed me, I can't really give it to you, but my email address is queens frig. Can't speak today. queenofnightmares248@gmail.com. If you ever want to send me something or share something to me, always email me, please. I would love to read it. And if I don't see it at first, because I get a lot of mail from different websites and everything I'm subscribed to, please let me know in comments, or even actually go to my social media. I love talking to people on social media. My favorite thing to do, or close to it. Chapter 28. Harry's POV. One morning, a few months later, I woke up wrapped in Draco's embrace. Since Christmas, his relationship with his family had grown stronger, causing him to be loads happier. Morning, sweetheart, he grinned. How did you sleep? I slept well. Shouldn't you be at work? No, I took a later shift. He nuzzled closer to me. But you need to get ready, because I'm going to make you breakfast, he smiled. Oh, but you're so warm, I groaned. Come on, baby, he said. You have work in an hour. Need to get ready, he pestered. I groaned, but nodded. I got out of bed and walked to take a shower. I walked into the bathroom, started the shower, and stripped. I hopped in and let the hot water wash over me. I washed my hair under the steaming hot water. Actually, want to know a tip about your hair? I know if you ever had dyed hair, or any hair for that matter, healthy hair, whatever, it's always better to have ice cold water on your hair, because that's healthier for it, and it doesn't ruin more molecule bonds that keep your hair strong. Well, for dyed hair, the reason for that one, it's multiple reasons. But for all types of hair, it's the bonds and not you losing more hair than you have to. But for colored hair, it's to not lose as much color, because when you're washing your hair, it opens the molecule so much that it washes the color out. So that's the problem as well. That you want to keep your hair dyed longer, use colder water, and then it will last longer than in hot water. Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to say something about it. Once I got out, I brushed my teeth and got dressed in my uniform. I walked downstairs and I smelled the sausage tickled my nose. I walked over to Draco and I wrapped my arms around him. "Smells good, dragon," I smiled. "So do you, Raven," he laughed, and he turned around and kissed my lips. "Thank you," I blushed. I sat at the counter as he put some eggs and sausage on my plate. I started eating and smiled at him. We'll have our baby soon," he smiled. "And all we need to do is get diapers and wipes. That's all we need." Why didn't you guys have a baby shower? I guess they never thought of that. Never mind. Then you get, like, when they get stuff for baby showers, they bring stuff that is a lot of money that you don't have to pay for it. Hold on a second. I needed that. Just a sip of Coca-Cola. But just to let you know, I'm a Pepsi and a Coca-Cola girl. Anyway. And we need a lot of those. I'll get them tonight, I told him. Hermione is due next week. Oh my gosh. She would already give birth. I'm sorry, because when did they have the when were they impregnated her? Around August, right? So yeah, and they had a spring wedding. I mean, it would be close, but not this close, because impregnation would take 2 to 4 months, which means, I'm sorry, I'm doing math, and I shouldn't be. It's just a story. Stories don't make sense sometimes. It's like Hollywood magic. Sometimes you see the movie and you're like, that one part did not make sense, but you know what? Little Lily and Little Rose, Draco laughed. The 2 flowers can be in a pot. You're allowing a Malfoy to be friends with a Weasley? I asked, mocking. I mocked. No, he shook his head. I'm letting a Malfoy Potter become friends with a Weasley. He smiled. He walked over to me and sat on my lap. Just another month and a half. Hollywood magic. We're going to be daddies and papa, I smiled. Isn't it a great feeling? He asked, and I nodded, smiling widely. It's amazing. You know what really would fuck this up is that they became grandpappies too. I'm still saying that the kids could get someone pregnant by now. I'm sorry. And they're probably 14 by now. But anyways, I was sitting at my desk, buried under a pile of work, when my phone started ringing. I ignored it and continued with my work without looking at who called. It rang a few more times, but I continued to ignore it. Through the thin walls, I heard another phone ringing in Ron's voice. He just rushed into my office, all pale. Ron, are you okay? I questioned. You need to go to the office. Draco says you're not picking up, and it's important, he gulped. I went into full panic mode. Why? Is he okay? I jumped up. No, it's Megan, he informed me, and my eyes widened. What's wrong with her? Just go and find out, he said, and I nodded shakily. Apparated to the hospital, Draco was waiting for me, and he was pale. Draco! I ran over to him, hugging him tightly. What's wrong? What's happening? Megan went into labor this morning. Oh. Okay. Why were you so pale? Oh, it's a month early. But it's still a strong baby. Around 8 months, it's still a strong baby, and it still can be born. It will be in the NICU a little bit, because it's not fully 9 months, but it will still be okay. But she had another few months. You said a month and a half. That's not a few months. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but what? I stuttered, and he was sobbing into my shoulder. Dude, I'm sorry. I may know the more medical terms of it, but I'm sorry. But I think I know more. But that's not the point. Sorry about that. I'm being a little mean. I'm sorry. It's just, I know that if a baby's born early, it's fine. It will be a little bit weak, but it won't die. Not if it catches a viral infection, if it's not handled right. If you guys give birth in a hospital and not at home, it's more likely to get sick at the hospital because of how many germs is there. I would rather have an at-home birth than at the hospital, because the germs, and that you don't know who slept in that bed is last. When you're giving birth, you don't know who slept in that bed last. You don't know if that nurse was sick the other week and could be still contagious. You never know. It's just, if you are at home, you know the environment and everything is more under control, and that you give birth. Anyways, he was sobbing into my shoulder, and we were comforting each other. I know, he cried. He cried, sorry. We need to go up, he said, to the maternity ward. Tears were trickling in my eyes, and I nodded. I wrapped my arms around him and went upstairs. We were instructed to wait in the waiting room until our children were born. What if they don't survive? He cried into my shoulder. Sweetheart, you can't think like that, I hushed him. So I hushed him as I was constantly wiping my eyes. A female doctor came over to us and said us to speak with us in private. We nodded and walked with her into another room. Now we have delayed the labor a little bit, but we can't do it for long, she relayed to us. Since she is carrying triplets, it's common for the babies to be born around this time. That's true. Sorry. She's got some medical stuff here. I like it. But they aren't developed fully yet. Draco snuffled. Yes, but they can survive outside the room. There you go, she said. We'll put them into an incubator until they are fully developed. That's the thing about science now, is that if they're underdeveloped a little bit, we have incubators. We can help them develop. I like science a little bit, but I'm not fully trusting in science. How long will that be? I asked. Maybe a month, but I assure you, they will be under the best care we can offer. Can we see Megan? I inquired. Yes, she nodded, and we stood up. I'm making her sound gentle and how a nurse would be, one thing that you do as a nurse that she did, and I was really surprised of, because a lot of TV shows get these wrong, is that they take you into a private area and talk to you face to face and really nicely talk to you. As you can see in like House or Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, but one thing they do is that they talk to them in an open space where anyone can hear them, and then they argue, and that's not okay. Okay. We walked into the room where Megan was lying on the bed. She was hooked up to all these machines. Well, she's gonna be, so. Hey, Megan, I said, walking over to her, and she looked exhausted. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I picked her head up and gently stroked her hand. Shh, it's not your fault. I spoke comfortingly. But it's okay, Megan. You're so strong for doing this for us. We can't thank you enough. Draco finally spoke up. If the babies want to come now, let them come now. They're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable, and I see that. We can do this together, yeah? He said gently, and she nodded. He gently placed a kiss on her forehead. She smiled and took a deep breath. Thank you, she whispered, but I shook my head. No, thank you. A few minutes later, she groaned in pain, and we alerted the labor pains, and we were alerted that the labor pains came back. Yeah, they, I'm giving you so much, science day. If you ever see a movie, like, or a TV show, like Bones, and they talk about labor, is that there's these things called contractions, and they slowly come together, and that's when the baby's ready to push. And you need to push. I know it hurts, but you need to push. And, it depends on the lady. My stepdad was married to this woman once that she's like, I don't feel so well, and literally the baby came out. Both of her children came out. It was just, huh? What? And my mom had to go through so much. I was too big to come. I wasn't even crowned yet. See? I was not even ready to be pushed out, and they literally said, and they didn't even do a C-section, and they were supposed to. My mom had to be cut open the other way. It was horrible. She was black and blue in the chest, red in the face, and the doctor came over to her and said, you weren't pushing hard enough. If I was my mother, I would I'll get off this chair and show you who didn't push hard enough. But I mean, I don't think you should say that to anyone. Anyone that's given birth. You should never say that to anyone. But anyways, she was being rushed for an emergency C-section. We informed to wait in the private room. We cuddled each other closely and tried to comfort each other as soon as we could. After an hour later, the lady doctor came into the room. Well, you have 3 babies, all weighing about 4 pounds. Huh. Lucky. I'm sorry. Usually, babies are heavier, around 6, and they are premature, but, I'll tell you what, I was twice that size. I was 8 pounds, some odd ounces. My friend, all her babies were 9, 10 pounds. Oh my Jesus, I can't, You would have to give me several epidurals. Epidurals are also the shots that are on the back. Could also cause you, to, hit the spinal cord and accidentally paralyze you, so that's not good. My heart clenched and tears trickled down at my eyes. Not to worry, they're in the NICU. How's Megan? Draco choked out. So I rubbed his back gently. Megan is in recovery, she answered. It was rough on her, and she'll make a full recovery. Good, we sighed. You can see your children, but I have to warn you. You can't hold them just yet. I mean, yeah, it's gonna suck that they can't hold them, but here, let me tell you something. You made that child, and it's not, you don't have to say goodbye forever yet. Just wait until they feel better, and you are not gonna let them go. My stepdad can't wait to, no, my mom can't wait to, like, get rid of me. My stepdad's like, can you go to a college near us? And I'm like, you know, I have to go. I can't just stay at home forever. I need to get out of here. And he's just like, no. Anyways, all right, we said. She stood up and we walked with her to the room. Our babies were in little incubators. They were hooked up to little machines, helping them breathe. Oh, you know what's really, people think that's really sad, but I think it's a miracle. It's a miracle that we were able to make this a thing so that we can help little babies that are premature to live and have a chance to live and make big lives. Sorry. I really like babies, and they're my passion. They'll also need a feeding tube. However, they'll make a... What? Did someone say something? Oh. Now their lungs are a little underdeveloped, so they need some help breathing. They'll also need a feeding tube. However, they'll make a full recovery. How long until we can take them home? Once they can breathe on their own and they reach a healthy weight. When will that be? Maybe a month? A month? I yelled. That's so long. Actually, that's not very long. My pastor's daughter, who was just like this, was not premature, but she had to had seizures, literal seizures. Her whole body stiffened up. She started to make like a really fuzzy sound, like the whole weight on her chest was making her suffocate. It was not pretty. Anyways, and she had to stay in there for more than a month, and that's just due to seizures, not to fully develop, so they're lucky. Yes, I'm aware, but they need to develop, the doctor replied. This is a private room, so you can be with them anytime you need to be. Thank you, we said. I'll leave you guys to be acquainted, she said, and left the room. We washed our hands and we each went to the babies. They were wearing little diapers and little knitted booties on their hands as well, because kids get their fingernails so sharp they accidentally scratch themselves. Our son's in blue and our daughter in pink. Sorry, I said red. I went to our little girl, so as Draco went to one of our sons. I opened the little window to put my hands inside. My little girl wrapped her hand around my index finger. My breath hitched. Tears trickled in my eyes and I smiled. Hi, Lily. My voice cracked. It's Daddy, I sniffled. I love you so much, my precious angel. Draco's POV. Harry seemed a little broken. He was cooing at our little girl and crying. I slightly smiled and looked down at my son. His eyes were open and they were very similar colors as mine. What? As mine. I smiled as I gently soothed his arm with my finger. Hello, little Draco. I smiled. You're so tiny, baby. Tears trickled at my eyes. Trickled. We were told that it went boy, girl, boy. Hey, even. They placed them in order of their birth. So the son I was the oldest. But you're bigger than your brother and sister. You're the oldest, I cooed. I love you so much. I heard Harry get get up, and he shot me a little small smile before going to Albus Severus. He was talking to him in the same way he was talking to Lily. I smiled and made my way over to our daughter. She was the smallest of the three. She looked so little and fragile. I put my hand in the tiny window, and she grabbed my finger. She opened her eyes, and they were different colors. Ooh, that is actually very rare. It's actually 5 or 2% of the population of the world's around that percentage of the world's population to actually have that happening. It's really cool. Treasure that, by the way. One was green and the other was icy gray. Tears trickled in my eyes, and I wanted desperately to hold her. After a while, Harry and I visited all our babies. Lily had some blonde hair and 2 different colored eyes. Draco was bald with blue eyes, and Albus had Harry's piercing green eyes, and his hair was black. We were there when they were being fed, and little whimpers left all of them. It broke both of our hearts, so we decided to visit Megan. "Hey guys," she smiled. "Megan, how are you doing?" Harry asked, taking her hand and sitting next to her. "I'm doing just fine. How are the babies?" she asked. "They're small, but going to be better," Harry smiled. "We couldn't thank you enough." "It was my pleasure," she smiled. Harry and I had talked a bit about making her the godmother of our children as a thank you, so I spoke up. "Megan, Harry and I would be delighted to make you the godmother of our children," I blurted out. Harry looked at me and smiled. And I smiled. Walked over to him. I sat on his lap, and he smiled. We both looked at a surprised Megan. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded slightly. "Yes." We smiled and kissed her forehead. Harry and I reluctantly went home, and we laid in bed. We decided to owl Miss McGonagall. "She's still teaching, that old broad." No, I'm kidding. That's so rude. Cut that. I meant broad could be a nice way of saying it. But, I mean, geez, girl, haven't you had enough? I mean, Harry was the tip of the iceberg, I assure you. What do you think the children are going to be like? And asked her for the boys to come back to see their siblings. "Dear Professor McGonagall, it is with heavy heart that we inform you our children were born today, a month and a half early. They are each around 4 pounds, but we are told they can survive. Harry and I were wondering if the boys could come back to us for a short time so they could meet their siblings." I was going to sneeze for that whole sentence. I needed to stop. They were unaware of the situation, and we ask you to please keep it hush. We will inform the boys if they are allowed to come home. We'd appreciate it if you told them we are requesting their presence at the home for a family emergency. Thank you so much. Draco and Harry Malfoy Potter. I almost going to say Potter Malfoy, because that kind of rolls off the tongue better, I guess. I don't know. We sent the owl, and I cuddled up to Harry's side. He ended up crying in my chest, and I shed a few tears. "It's okay, Raven," I hushed. They'll be okay. We're okay." "I'm so scared, Draco." "Shh, it's okay. They'll be okay." Harry hiccuped a few times and looked at me. "I love you, Draco. I love you more, Harry. We're in this together." Scorpius' POV. Oh, jeez. I was just drifting off to sleep when McGonagall rushed into our dormitory. Mr. Malfoy, Mr. Potter, she yelled. I jolted up and looked at her, wide-eyed. Get your brother up, please, she asked. I jumped out of bed and pulled Ted out of... Oh, bad. Sorry, I just saw what Ted said. Pulled Ted out of bed. The fuck, Scorp? I was sleeping, Ted groaned. He rubbed his eyes and looked at McGonagall. She was staring at him with an eyebrow raised. Sorry for the language, ma'am. Pack your bags. Oh, please don't expel us. I didn't mean to, Ted pleaded. I'm not expelling you. McGonagall shook her head. Your presence are needed at home. I looked at Ted, wide-eyed, then at the professor. Is everything okay? I asked. I was instructed not to tell you, but you need to go home immediately. Ted and I grew quiet. Pack a small bag. You shall return over the weekend. Okay, thank you, ma'am, I answered. Ted and I got dressed and quickly packed a small trunk to bring with him. Ted? My voice shook. Yeah. He asked, putting stuff in a bag. What do you think is wrong? Something they don't want us to find out in the Prophet. Come on, Hagrid's waiting, he said. Hagrid's still working too? Dang, isn't he done with his shit? With that, we were escorted to Hagrid's hut to catch the midnight train home. Once on the train, Ted gave me a hug and relaxed a little. It's okay, Scoop. It'll be okay. Okay, guys, I'm gonna stop there. Thank you guys for listening. Oh my gosh, it's almost it's almost too late. It's almost an hour long. Oh my gosh, my video is about to post in 4 minutes. Okay, guys, hope you are happy. I hope you have a great day. I love you guys so much. Please be happy, be healthy, and always be loving.